Welcome to the G3X Podcast, where it's all God, Gym, Grind, Unfiltered. This is episode 26 of the podcast. Super excited. Our guest today is Destiny. Destiny, thank you so much for being here. How are you feeling today?
How are you?
Doing great. Super excited to have you. Truly, you have an amazing story to share, and I'm really excited for the audience to get as much value and inspiration from your powerful story. Truly, for the audience here, I met Destiny, of course, through social media. Like all my past guests that I've had, that I've met them through all social media. So I saw her through Threads, then followed her through Instagram. Saw her page was really focused on like faith, fitness, which goes so well with the whole God Gym Grind lifestyle that we push here at G3X. I reached out to her. I'm like, hey, look, I love how you're promoting and how your page is focused on faith, on the gym, that aspect. Would you want to be a guest on the podcast? And she was like, heck yeah. And here we are now. So it's beautiful how social media can connect people. But Destiny, let me not steal the thunder from you for the audience who isn't aware of who you are. Give a little brief introduction of like who you are, where you're from, what you do, and we take it from there.
My name is Destiny Reid. I currently reside in Dallas, Texas. I am originally from Utah. I moved here about 3 years ago. Um, I've been in fitness in the gym for about, I would say, a little over a year now. But what really got me into the gym and into fitness, 3 years ago, I moved to Texas at the age of 18 on my own. Right after I graduated high school, I just decided I was going to pack all my stuff up and left. So at the age of 18, I moved to Texas on my own. When I came to Texas, I had gotten into a super abusive relationship. It was just, it put a damper on me mentally. And so during that time, I gained a bunch of weight. So when I was in Utah, I weighed 115 pounds, and then I gained a whole bunch of weight moving to Texas. Once I moved here and gained all that weight, it took a toll on me, not only mentally, but of course physically. So when I would say it was probably like 2 years ago, I decided I was gonna just start watching the way I eat and doing workouts at home. So that's what I did. Once I started doing that, I decided about a year ago that I was gonna get in the gym. And I originally just went to the gym to lose more weight, but I fell in love with the process of weightlifting and building muscle and strengthening not only my body, but also strengthening myself spiritually and mentally.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. And I know there's so many valuable gems that we'll be getting into your story. So, one of the things that caught my eye, especially when you had filled out that form for the podcast here, that how you mentioned, growing up, let's say in a non-religious home and so forth, but you still had that inclination to like pray and so forth. What do you think that was? Why do you feel that is? Obviously God has a plan for everyone, and maybe there was a reason God put that in your heart. But like, what do you think God was doing in your life, even like back then, like growing up in a non-religious household, but yeah, you still had like that inclination to pray in some way or shape or form. How was that for you back then?
Yeah, so I really just think that I've had a calling over my life literally since I was born. I grew up in a family that is very much not religious and very much does everything that the Bible pretty much tells you not to do. So it's kind of, I really just feel like he had a calling over my life. I can tell you since I can remember when I was little, I used to always pray like in every situation, whether I was happy, sad, mad. I as little as can be, I was praying. Didn't really know why until I turned 16. At the age of 16 years old, my mom had walked out on me and my little sisters due to addiction. My mom was the only parent I had in my life, my entire life. My dad was never around, so I took that pretty hard. And once my mom walked out, that's when I really started to seek God fully. Through prayer mostly. I hadn't really got into the Bible at that point, but through prayer, I was a prayer warrior at that time. And it's truly because of the grace of God that I was able to get through that. And he was able to guide me and seek me through that. And one question I get asked a lot is why I chose Texas or why I moved to Texas specifically. Honestly, I don't know. It was kind of like just a walk of faith almost. It was like I had this desire in my heart, you need to go here and it needs to happen now. So that is exactly what I did. But um once I got to Texas, and then I would say when I got out of that relationship I was in is when I really, really got in the Bible, started studying the word for myself and just developing a personal relationship with God, which I feel is the most important thing over church or any religious acts. Because if anybody asks, yes, I'm a Christian, but I'm not religious. I'm one with Christ per se.
Yeah, no, I love that exactly. And how I say people, it's not about a religion, it's about like a relationship with God effective. That's what Christianity is, right? A lot of people confuse it with just doing specific actions and just doing this or that. And but then that's where you fall into that religion aspect. Oh, I just have to do good, quote unquote. People, that term good can be very discretionary according to the person. But when you have a relationship with God, like a real relationship, just like you have a relationship with, let's say, someone that's very close to you, you're not doing things because you're trying to be good, but you're doing it out of a true love that you have for God, and in a sense, trying to please Him and living in a right way where it's not religion, it's a relationship with God. So I really love how you said that 100%. Yeah. Now, let me ask you the following, actually, super interesting there. As you mentioned, like those like painful moments in your life, would you say then those aspects effectively were like those turning points where like your relationship with God became more like much more real and personal effectively then, correct?
Yeah. When my mom left, like I said, it was really just prayer and petition at that point. After that relationship, that's when I got a Bible. That's when I got in the Word by myself. I've studied the Bible front to back on my own. And I made a promise with myself that I was going to build a relationship with God on my own before stepping foot into a church. So I learned God's word. I learned who he was, who Jesus was. And once I learned all of that, I started going to different churches and trying out different churches. I now have two different churches I go to. A big one I go to that a lot of people know of is Social Dallas, which is obviously in Dallas. It's a great church. The pastor's amazing. But then I have like a little hometown church that's just like a little reserve church, and that's where I got baptized, and they're kind of like my little family.
Nice. I love it. That's so beautiful. Yeah, no, for sure. Because I mean, one thing that I would say I like that's cool that in your own, let's say, faith walk, as you're like finding God and developing further your relationship with God, how a lot of people, that's their first thing. I would say, hey, yeah, I go to church. I'm Christian. Right. But, like you've heard this famous quote, hey, just because you walk in a car shop doesn't make you a mechanic, or or it doesn't make you a car, or whatever, however the saying goes, something like that. But like it's the same thing. Hey, just because you go to church doesn't mean you're a Christian. Like, anyone can go to church, but doesn't mean you're living a godly life, a Christian life. So, one thing I'm a let's say believer in is that of course church is good, 100%. Even the Bible says like, hey, congregate with other believers in faith and grow each other in faith, right? The Bible says that. But at the same time, if oneself is like really dedicated or really, let's say, disciplined, connecting it to the fitness side, which we'll be talking about soon, if one is really disciplined, it's like even if you go to church, but if you're like reading the God's word, having prayer time with Him, you're still developing your own relationship with God in a sense in that regards, right? So it's like even if you're not going to church, but you're still like it's for example like when you have again a relationship with someone like be it a friend. It doesn't have to be like a romantic relationship, but just a relationship with anyone, that you just develop that relationship by talking more and more with that person, texting, calling, whatever, seeing them in person, right? Like a friendship, a best friendship, whatever the case may be. It's the same thing with God, right? Like you don't have to go to a specific place to like develop it. So I love how you said like, hey, before you even step into church, you basically develop your own relationship with God personally, and then go to church to, let's say, you meet other believers or grow in the faith with other believers, but like you kind of already developed your own habit or own relationship with God, which I think that's the most important part, which people miss with their faith, where it's like, oh yeah, I just go to church, but then they only go on church on Sundays, and then it's Monday through Saturday they just live life normally. It's like, hey, you don't eat once a day, you don't eat once a week, you eat daily. Same thing with your spiritual life, your spirit, right? We're body, soul, spirit. So like your spirit needs also that nourishment, and that spiritual food being reading God's word, prayer, et cetera, et cetera. So I really love how you mentioned that like you developed God literally guided you in His own way, and here you are now. So I think that's like a beautiful thing in your like faith journey. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
When you say, let's say now, with your journey that you've been through, what would you say kind of like your relationship with God looks like today, now that you've been baptized and walking like fully in your faith, on that regards, and maybe other people that want to get maybe, let's say, more serious with their faith and walk with God on that? Like, how does your current faith look like? And what would you say to someone who's wanting to head in that right path with their faith? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, right now, my full focus is on God at all times. Everything I do is to glorify Him or to worship Him in some type of way. Like the gym, that's to glorify Him through my body. Essentially, everything I do is for Him. But one thing I will say, and I will tell people, is a lot of people think that, oh, once I give my life to Christ, it's gonna be easy. It's gonna make things perfect. It's gonna make them not hard. That is the furthest thing from the
How you
truth.
figure out?
Um, that is literally the furthest thing from the truth. In the Bible, it literally says that you will go through sufferings just like Christ did. But it's how you react within those sufferings that is going to cause the perseverance, that is going to cause you to excel on a level that God has called you to. Because if you hit a trial, or if you hit a bump in the road and you just go stagnant and you stop praising and you stop praying and you stop worshiping, that's gonna put you in a place of depression. That's gonna put you in a place of being stagnant, missing opportunities, missing open doors that God has for you. So you have to rejoice within those sufferings at all times. It's just like right after I got baptized last year, literally a week after I got baptized, my brand new car got totaled and I was without a car for 3 months. I have no family out here, and I live on one income. So I was like, I am going to lose everything. By the grace of God, I didn't. He provided fully. He
There
provided for
you
me in
go.
every single way. I was having to take Ubers every day, and Ubers are obviously expensive. But it's a brand new car. I'd had it for 3 months. I got baptized a week later. I wrecked the car. And so,
Oh,
and the accident wasn't even my fault, but insurance put it on me. So they
that's
wouldn't pay for
crazy.
anything.
That's
But
crazy.
yeah, so he provided. I was without a car for 3 months, but I will say within those 3 months after my baptism, I really got deep with God. It was almost like him being like, okay, you gave your life to me. Now it's time to really learn who I am, learn the things that I can do. The biggest advice I would give is to really spend time to develop a relationship with God, not just because of what you see on social media, not just because of what other people say, but for yourself, because the calling He has for you is so specific. And if you're walking by what other people are saying, you're falling to the feet of kind of like approval addiction almost. You're falling to
Mhm.
what other people are telling you to do rather than what God is telling you to do. And once you get in deep with God, you start getting, the conviction. The Holy Spirit starts speaking to you and through you. So that's my biggest advice for sure.
Bro, Destiny, preach it, girl. No, I love it. No, it's so true because, for example, I love, let's say that testimony you shared, like with the car and the job and everything. Because, for example, I look back, let's say during COVID, as a little testimony myself, where it's like back then I used to do a lot of production work, and so mind you, COVID, everything is done, everything is closed. There's no production, there's no events, there's no concerts, there's nothing, and you're like, and I'm like, okay, God. So now what? Like I got, if it's COVID, there's lockdown, but hey, the bills are still coming every month or whatever. So like now what? And just like you said, by the grace of God, I don't know how, but everything got paid every month when it came to like the utilities bills or like, phone bill or this and that. And God is good, right? And that's something that sometimes we can't understand, but like by just walking in faith. And sometimes, like the story of Job that you read about it, you're like, hey, this makes no sense. Like, why did God allow that to happen? And sometimes it doesn't have to make sense, right? I think that's another thing. So, like you were saying, like, oh, because you're Christian, you think it's easy. If anything, it's the opposite. Like sometimes it might not even make sense. You might be doing everything right by the books. And when I say right by the books, like maybe you're like genuinely living a godly life, developing a relationship with God, etc. And then things are still going, let's say, wrong. And that's where your faith is really getting tested because it doesn't have to make sense. Like that's one thing I've learned in my walk with God myself. Is like it doesn't have to make sense. This is like just trust God, truly have faith in Him, and even if that circumstance at the moment does not make sense, you're like, it's for a reason, right? It's ultimately for a reason, right? Like there's that famous Bible verse. I forget the exact Bible reference, but it's like all things work together for good to them that
That,
love God,
that's
like
like some of my
specifically.
favorite Bible verse of all time. And it's
There you go.
and we know that in all things God works good for those who love him, who are called according to their purpose. And it's Romans 8:28.
Yep, 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 exactly. Exactly, exactly. And then and there's that key phrase to them that love God, because again, people like take it, hey, like if you believe in God, it's gonna work. It's like it's not just believing in God. I mean, the devil himself believes in God, but it's like, do you love God? Are you like living that godly life? Which I think people forget that key phrase to them that love God, because anyone could believe in God. Like I said, even the devil himself believes in God, but like doesn't mean they're living a godly life, obviously, you know what I mean? But no, it's like so powerful. I mean, I love everything that you said on that aspect. So for sure. Now, one thing that I also wanted to, let's say, mention how you mentioned like in that, let's say, like, when it comes to that godly life, I always like one thing I like to say is like, of course, what we say here, God, Jim grind, and that God first. But again, putting God first in your decisions, putting God first in your actions, and so forth. Like you were mentioning, everything that I do is to glorify God. Yeah, God first. For me, my favorite Bible verse, which is kind of where God, Jim grind, originated from, especially that God first. For me, my favorite Bible verse is Proverbs 3:5-7, where it's like, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. If you boil it down, it basically, for me, the way I boiled it down, that whole Bible verse is God first. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding, right? So don't trust yourself. Don't trust your own intuition. And then people always talk about, hey, your gut feeling, your intuition. I rather trust the Holy Spirit and the conviction of the Holy Spirit versus my own intuition, right? Because as the Bible says, the heart can be deceiving. And so, trust in the Lord with all your heart, do not lean on your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. And coming, let's say your case, maybe in a sense being, let's say for lack of a better phrase to say, like being independent at such a young age, like kind of like having to look out for yourself at such a young age, as you mentioned, your mom walking out on you at the age of 16, then having to take care of your sisters, in a sense, becoming an adult, like having to like be that mature person, to like take care of your little sisters, take care of yourself, etc. And then it's easy to just do whatever feels natural to you. But then that's where like, hey, you know what, God, do you want me to do this? Do you not want me to do this? And like asking God to guide you. And I think that's something very important that, you know, God has been guiding you. And it's cool to see from then to now that, as I like to say, the grind aspect, like you literally grinded through it. Other people could have just been like stayed sad or stayed depressed or this, but you're like, you know what? No, like let me do something different. And you started seeking God more and like you grinded through it and here you are now. So, I think that's something like super beautiful.
100%. And one phrase that really sticks with me, and I repeat it to myself all the time: God does not care about your comfort; He cares about your calling. He's going to call you to do uncomfortable things. You're gonna be put in moments of discomfort, but a lot of people don't realize that in that discomfort is where growth happens. If you are constantly just staying in your comfort zone, you're never going to give yourself the potential to grow, not only where God needs you, but to grow into who you need to be to reach that calling or that promise that God has over your life. You have to be willing to step out in discomfort, step out in faith, even if you don't see the full picture or the full road ahead. As long as you know that He has got you and that He is going to make a way, even when it may seem there is no way. Like, step out in discomfort, step out in faith, and just walk where He tells you to walk. It doesn't matter what others say.
Facts. Like there's a famous entrepreneur that I love watching a lot of his content called Alex Hermosi. And one of the things he talks a lot about is like get comfortable with being uncomfortable because
Absolutely.
that's how you grow, like it's like the gym, like we both know, like, hey, to build muscle, you can't just do like 10 reps. And like I said, if there was no pain or like, that like slight little discomfort on your muscle, like that's when it's growing. And, when the pain starts, like that's where technically the rep actually matters. Everything else has been like the build up to where your muscle starts growing. But, you got to get into that discomfort, kind of like as we got, let's say, to those who get into like train to failure or close to failure to like really build that muscle, etc. So it's the same thing, life is the same thing. You got to get comfortable with those hard knocks of life because that's how you grow, that's how you learn, that's how you become better, 100%.
Absolutely.
Now, let me ask you the following, talking about that fitness, transitioning to that fitness aspect, like how did ultimately fitness therefore become, let's say, like a healing outlet for you after everything that you went through, finding that passion for fitness, what led you to that? Or what made you like, you know what, let me go hit the gym, right? We all like I think that's what the story for all of us, dark times and the gym was kind of like our outlet.
Yeah. So, like I said, originally I just knew I wanted a change. So I started doing it at home, and it was a mental challenge to lose because I lost about 60 of the 80 pounds just at home,
Wow.
just doing
Wow.
like little workouts with 10-pound weights
Wow.
and just really sticking to a calorie deficit, learning my body. So it was a mental challenge for sure. And that wasn't the moment when I fell in love with the process. At that point, I really hated the process and I just wanted it to be over. I just wanted the end result. I didn't care about learning anything throughout the process. I just wanted what I wanted in that moment. So once I got to a certain point, I was like, okay, I'm going to get a gym membership because these 10-pound weights just aren't doing it anymore. So I went and I got a gym membership at Gold's Gym. I was at Gold's Gym for about 3 months. Was
Nice.
not a fan at all.
Oh, really?
I go to EOS now, but when
Okay,
I
okay.
got, yeah, when I got the
Both
membership,
gyms that I've been wanting to try, not gonna lie.
well, the Gold's here just isn't great. I live in kind of a small town outside of Dallas, so everybody and their mom goes to that gym.
Okay, okay,
So
okay. I
it's like
see, I see. It's
no
hand
matter
packed.
what time you go. Yeah.
Okay,
And they're not open
I see.
24 hours. So I go to the gym at
Okay,
4 a.m. every morning. So
okay. Sheesh.
yeah. But when I went to EOS is when I really started to lock in and take it serious. So essentially, I never had a coach or anything. I learned my body on my own. I taught myself workouts. I would kind of like study almost like fitness influencers and like try
Mhm.
different workouts and find what worked for my body. So I created my own split. I created my own meal
That's
plan.
dope.
And then since then, I've just been doing the traditional like bodybuilding, bulking, cutting, maintaining type of thing just to build up that muscle. I've been in the gym for about a year and I've seen a lot of progress, not only like I said, physically, but mentally and spiritually, because the discipline that you have to be in the gym is the same discipline that you have to apply to every other aspect of your life. Like, are you going to give it your 100% every single day, or are you going to pull back and kind of get lazy with it? You gotta discipline over motivation.
100%. Yep, yep, yep. 100%. No, so no, actually, that's actually super, super cool. The fact that, I think a lot of people maybe somewhat struggle a little bit, kind of like knowing their own body where then that comes into the coach and everything, but that's cool that you kind of like DIY, like do it yourself, you know what I mean, that you kind of figured it out your own, you learn and everything. I remember myself kind of starting out. For me, it was initially my uncle showed me some stuff, then I had a friend of mine showed me some stuff, then same thing, I started going on YouTube, my own stuff, started influencers myself, so it actually caught my eye, like what are some of your like favorite fitness influencers, if any, that you have, or like maybe not that you have now, but maybe that kind of helped you in your journey on that regards as well, that you would use as references or anything.
Liana Deeb, she is a Gymshark athlete, is a big
Okay.
one. Most of the Gymshark girls really are the ones that I followed. Huge Gymshark fan. I love me some Gymshark.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. I was at the
Yeah, no,
Gymshark
I
event
love
here in
Gymshark.
Miami. And like
Uh-huh.
you see all the people that go there, like the athletes themselves, one super chill, super cool. Once you get to talk to them and everything's super cool, and like the whole community is like, yo, everyone's there like jack, power build, bodybuilding or powerlifting and this and that. It's like, yo, this is cool. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful community.
Yeah,
Now, let me
so
ask you the
I just
following.
followed them.
Gotcha. That's cool. That's cool. For me, like I remember like Sam Sulek is one that I really like a lot just because he's like so down to earth with his training. It's like, hey, train as hard as you can, push yourself, track your macros. And like that's it. Like he keeps it so simple. Of course, there's more to it a little bit, but like at the very basics is that hey, try to push yourself as hard as you can, track your macros and either deficit, surplus based off of your goals and you know, keep at it. It doesn't have to be
Absolutely.
that complicated sometimes. Now, let me ask you the following. Like you mentioned, like losing over 80 pounds and, building muscle, of course, that's no small feat. That's something like a lot of people like struggle sometimes with their own weight loss journey and everything. So, what would you say in that process for you specifically was like, let's say your biggest mindset shift that helped you stay consistent with that? Like you said, at first you didn't like it, you didn't like enjoying it, but then now it's like a part of your lifestyle. So, like, what was some of your biggest, let's say, mindset shifts that like really clicked with you through that journey of losing those 80 pounds?
Learning to love the process and not the end result. So, like I said before, I was just striving for that end result. But a lot of people don't realize is we are so hard on ourselves because our end result is constantly changing. If you look back and you realize what you wanted your physique to look like before, you have already achieved that, but now you're on to a bigger image, and so you're never going to reach that end result essentially, because you're always going to be hard on yourself. So just taking it easy on yourself mentally and talking to yourself in positive ways and learning to love the process. I've loved learning the process of watching my body change consistently. Like day and night difference. One day it can look super lean, the next day, I can be more puffy. And a lot of people will take that and think that their progress is ruined. And so they will just give up or quit. But that's just all part of the process and the way the body works. And you got to learn what your body is sensitive to, what your body reacts well to, all of that.
Yeah, no, it's true. 100%, 100%. Like I've seen that through like different people that I follow, both guys and girls. Like again, certain things that you eat can make you feel like the next morning you wake up like a bit bloated. You're like, what the heck? And it's like, but then you start reading, oh, okay, so these certain foods affect me. Okay, let me not eat them. And then, yeah, you start realizing that. And unless you're paying attention, you wouldn't know. You know what I mean? Like even for myself, I've noticed certain kind of foods, like kind of like get me a little off. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. It's like something to be okay. Start cutting these, and then I cut them off. I try it again. I'm like, okay, so it's definitely this. Like, wow, I would have never thought that. Okay, let me adjust this to something else. And, you start learning your body 100%. That's so true. That's so true. Now, here specifically, something else I want to ask you now. Let's say workout split. Like, kind of how does your like training routine look like on a like day-to-day basis? How do you go about like kind of like again your own workout routine and let's say some of your favorite exercises on that too.
So as of right now, I do legs 3 times a week, and then I do upper body 3 times a week. So I go to the gym a total of 6 days a week. Um, I do a split of Monday and Friday are my glute days, Wednesday are quad days, and then Tuesday and Saturday are full upper body, so core, back, and arms. And then Thursdays are just core and back. Yeah, core and back. I would say my favorite days are definitely back days. Those are my go-to. So any exercises that has to do with back
Nice.
workouts are my favorite.
Heck yeah, the lat pull down, Steven rows. Yeah, no, lat pull down, I think just goes so hard. And of course, it's like a classic exercise, lat pull down, but they go so hard. It's one of my favorite ones too. Heck yeah. Love it. Yeah, no, for me, leg day is actually my favorite. I love leg day, especially like anything heavy on quads. Like I love like heavy squats or hack squats, or like I love legs, specifically in that order: quads, then hamstrings, and then calves. But like, calves is like, yeah, we all forget calves. And then from there, second favorite is definitely back, then followed by chest. That would be kind of like but yeah, legs for me is my favorite. When it comes to back, like I said, that's my favorite one. Lat pull downs for sure.
Yeah, not a big fan of legs. I still train them, but I just don't
Yeah.
like legs. They're my
That's
heaviest days, so they're the days I have
yeah,
to
that's
push
where
the
you
hardest.
sweat the most. Yep, no, 100%. Like it's funny,
Yeah.
like me and my sister, we always train together, right? And so I have like a very similar split. It's like Monday and Fridays are leg day. So let's say Monday is usually quad first, then hamstrings. Then Fridays it's like hamstring first, then quads. Like for me, I'll train like both hams and quads the same day, just like mix and match the order I start with. And so my sister would be like, "Hey, so what are we hitting today?" We're like, "Well, today's leg day," and she's like not as much. Like she prefers back. Actually, that's her favorite, one of her favorite days. And so whenever it's like back leg day, she's like, ugh. Oh, like she
Yeah,
was like,
that's
I don't
me.
want to learn. You get me? And I'm like, come on, sister, let's go. We could do this. What you mean? Like, come on, like go. So sometimes I see her kind of like slacking off a little bit on the weights. I'm like, sister, the heck are you doing? Like, I know you can lift heavier than that. I've seen you lift heavier than that. Like, what are you doing?" And she starts kind of chuckling. She's like, "Oh, I don't know. Like, come on, you got this." So then I
Yeah.
push her, then she goes heavier. And then afterwards, she's like, "Oh my God, like that was good. That felt good." I'm like, "I'm telling you, like, yeah." But I know it definitely, like, even myself, I'm like, okay, today's leg day. Like, I gotta be like prepared. Like if and I already felt to myself, like you said, getting to know your body. Like if I don't get enough sleep the day before and it's a leg day after, it's like I feel it in my performance.
It's
Like oh
rough.
crap, but like yeah, it's like I feel it, especially some squats or something. Like yo, I'm not feeling it. Or if I didn't eat enough, like empty stomach, which has happened to me a few times, empty stomach leg day. Like you lift half of the weight you could normally lift or whatever. You're like oh my God, like no, screw this.
I actually do fasted lifts and cardio every single day, so everything's
Nice,
completely
yeah.
fasted.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, you got your body got used to it. I've done it a few. I before I used to do it actually. Like when I would go in the mornings, I would go in the mornings to the gym, and so I would kind of be kind of fasted, maybe a little protein shake, but like nothing heavy. But then eventually, given like schedules changed, I started going more in the afternoon, and then
Yep.
from there, that's when I started like, okay, eating some good breakfast, and then I've compared like for me, like you said, everyone's different, so you know in your own body. Like for me, I've noticed that at least specifically for leg day, if I have some good amount of carbs, like bowl of cereal or something like good amount of carbs, I could definitely feel the difference in like energy, how heavy I can go or not on a leg day
Yeah,
versus maybe I ate something super light, and then it's like okay, you could definitely feel that decrease in performance. Do you
100%.
have any flavor like? Now, this one's a fun one. Any favorite pre-workout like drinks or brands or anything? Or not really?
I'm an Alani girly all the way.
Alani. Okay, I haven't tried that one actually. I need to like check that one out. Yeah, like they have different flavors, I'm guessing, or and such, right? What's one of your favorite
Uh,
flavors?
yeah, favorite flavor is it's like tropical something. I can't remember the
Okay.
other part of it, but any Alani is good. And
How
then
many like
all the
caffeine does it normally have?
theirs has so they have one that has 200 milligrams of caffeine, and then they have like an extreme one that has 400 milligrams of caffeine.
That
I use that
one.
one,
Heck yeah, I was
because
like, I like that one.
the 200 milligrams doesn't do it for me no more.
Lightweight,
Um,
lightweight.
yeah, especially when I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, gotta be to the gym by
Sure.
4. It
Fine.
doesn't work. So I use the 400 milligram one, and then I drink a lot of their energy drinks as well. Their energy drinks just taste good. So
Nice. Like just like your water. Like sometimes I had to like cut back a little bit on my like energy drink consumption,
I'm so
but I would
bad.
be taking it like juice. Like it's lunch and I'm drinking a can of for me, my favorite brands have been Ghost or Applied Nutrition, which another name for Applied Nutrition is Abe. ABE, all black everything, same company. Those are my two favorite. So sometimes I would have eating lunch and I just pop a can of Ghost or a can of Applied Nutrition and just like drink it like if it was like a soda. And then dinner comes, pop in another can. And then when I'm going to the gym, it's like the third can. I'm like, yo, I'm on my third can for the day. Like, no, this is kind of crazy. Like, yo,
Yeah.
cut it back. But no, I'm gonna check Alani out and I'm gonna let you know when I'm drinking it. I'm gonna like give you a tag, like, yeah, and let's see, like the rating I give it, like out of
It's
10,
good.
and I'll
I
let
like
you know.
it.
But not actually like no, one thing I know about these pre-workout drinks is like for the most part they're all good. Like and it just comes down to like personal preference, what brands you lean on towards the more. Like for example, my sister. I don't know if you heard of the brand called Gorilla Mine. It's one that lean beef patty tends to like she's affiliated with it, and so that's how my sister found out about it. You know lean beef patty, right? The influencer. Yeah. She's dope. And so she like she tries it. And interesting for her, like for me, it has this weird aftertaste, but the
Mhm.
initial flavor is good. But then when it comes to like my sister, like she enjoys it, like it's like and like like it doesn't hit her too hard or this and that. For me, I've gotten to the point where it's like you were saying, like 200, I just drink it for fun, but it doesn't really like affect me anymore.
It
Like
doesn't do anything.
I could drink a can and then like 20 minutes later I end up going to sleep and like nothing, which is crazy. So it's like we're a freaking caffeine addict.
The 400 milligram one will have you itching. Like,
I was gonna ask you, do you at least still get the itch? Because it's bad if you take that much amount of calf and you don't get the itch. Then it's like, okay, you definitely gotta cut it back at that point.
if I take the original, I don't feel it, but with the other one, yeah, you feel it. Locked in.
There you go. Heck yeah. You're like, I'm hitting a PR.
Locked in for real.
Facts. All right. No, I love it. Now, let me ask you the following now. No, this was a super fun conversation. It's really on a few more questions I also wanted to ask more on the grind mindset specifically there with the whole God gym grind that we were focused on. Again, with everything you've overcome, as you know, we like to say here at G3X Fitness, God gym grind. So to you personally, what would you say, like, to say the word grind means to you personally, and like your own way that you're living your God gym grind lifestyle? What would like the grind mean to you, especially with everything you've overcome and achieved in your life too?
Yeah, so with grinding, I kind of associate it with not depending on your emotions or the way you were feeling in the current moment. There may be a day where, well, I just don't feel like going to the gym today, so I'm not going to go, or I don't feel like meal prepping, so I'm just not going to meal prep today, but I will tomorrow. The farther you fall out of habit of something, the farther astray it goes. So you can say you're not going to go to the gym for one day and you end up not going for an entire week because you skipped that one day. But also in the aspect of grinding, putting in your best efforts, but still giving yourself time to rest, because rest is super important. And a lot of people, especially with social media, we see people that are always just go, 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 go all the time. But if you are constantly going without getting that essential rest for yourself, for your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit, what is going to happen is you're going to run dry, and then you can't fill a cup with an empty cup. So you have to still give yourself rest within that grind mindset
Yeah.
and essentially push, but don't push yourself too hard. Give yourself grace.
Facts, 100%. That's something I like. I've talked about in a few other podcasts. Like, hey, give yourself grace. Again, for me, I like a lot of like entrepreneurs, like let's say Alex Hermosi or Gary V. And one thing I like about Gary V a lot is especially that he talks about, hey, give yourself some grace, right? Like, it's like as he even said talks about like, hey, social media makes it seem like the hustle, the grind, like you're nonstop working. But hey, at the end of the day, we're all humans. You gotta give yourself some, you gotta rest to continue going, otherwise you're gonna burn yourself out. And like that's not the point either. We're humans at the end of the day.
100%.
We were designed to rest.
100%.
Now, I know you touched a little bit this earlier on when you talked a little bit about, let's say, like the discipline aspect, but kind of like getting deeper into it. Like, let's say, ultimately, how do you, with everything you've got going on now, especially, let's say, work and gym and everything else, like, how do you personally stay grounded in your faith and purpose, especially on hard days when, let's say, you're not feeling it, motivation isn't there, life is feeling heavy, work, stress, and how do you stay like grounded, like in your faith, in your fitness journey and so forth?
So I am a very schedule oriented person. So I literally plan my day out the day before, so with my job, my schedule is kind of like all over the place. So I can't have a set schedule every single day. But
Shoot.
the few things that I make like non-negotiable is like I go to the gym at the same time every day. So like I said, I wake up at 3 in the morning. I'm at the gym by 4 a.m. I'm usually there for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then I'll come home, get ready for the day, and then do whatever else I need to do. So the gym is always in the morning, but I always start my day off with reading Psalms so that I am in the Word the second I wake up. Before I touch my phone, before I do anything, I say a little prayer. My favorite prayer to pray first thing in the morning is, Lord, please take over my mind before I get into my own mind. Just so that He can get in there before I start overthinking the day or before I take on any burdens or stresses of the day. I allow Him to speak through me and to me. And I always pray Psalms 23 in the morning as well as Psalms 27. Those are always my go-tos. Um, and then I always, non-negotiable, every time I get home, every night I do an hour of prayer, journaling, and Bible reading. So every single night.
That's beautiful. There you go. There you go. You see, like when you really like want to do something, you'll make the time for it. Like like people say, there's no excuses, right? So even like you said, despite your hectic work schedule where it's like changing all the time, you have your non-negotiables. And like when someone really wants to do something, they'll find the way to do it. Like you said, no excuses. You just make it happen. Like you were talking about earlier, you like grind through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Now,
feel like
let
we
me.
can make so much time for other things, and I feel like people don't make enough time for God is the thing. They say,
Mhm.
"Well, I don't have time to be in the Bible. I don't have time to journal." No, you do, but you're just not making that time for Him.
Yeah. I mean, like I know this one person who's like, hey. let me go on your screen time. And then boom, I just found you time, like, 3 hours on Instagram or 2 hours on TikTok. And like, boom, I just found you time. So it's true what you said, it's like you're just not prioritizing your time correctly. 100% spot on there. Let me ask you a little more. This is a more let's say kind of like content creation related. What with your fitness journey, your faith journey, etc. What made you want to start your own, let's say like fitness account and through social media and everything? Because I know a lot of people are sometimes more like scared, like, oh no, I don't want to go on social media and this or that. What made you want to start your page and in a sense kind of share your fitness journey and everything along with it?
It kind of just came about. So my Instagram was actually originally just a normal Instagram. Like I literally didn't post anything but normal stuff. I really never posted about fitness. But everyone around me started to notice the difference in the way I was looking and like my mentality, the way I was presenting myself. And then everyone around me started asking me for like fitness advice. And so I've created several workout plans for people, meal plans for people. I've helped my best friend lose over 50 pounds herself in the gym. So, yeah, once that started happening, I kind of just started posting more of my fitness journey on Instagram. And once I did that, I actually had a company called AG Labs. They're a supplements company. And their supplements are really good. I like theirs because they have pre-workout and creatine all in one. It's super cool. So that you don't have to buy two different supplements. But they reached out to me and they asked to essentially make me an ambassador. And that's when I was like, okay, I could do this. And so I started just posting more so fitness, like pictures, progress pictures, things like that. But now I'm leaning more into trying to get myself comfortable with filming in the gym. Haven't quite got there yet. I went and bought a tripod yesterday. So,
Really? Oh wow. But like
yeah,
the big ones or the small ones?
it's like a medium-sized one, but
Okay, okay, okay.
I'm very much like I stick to myself in the gym. I always have a hat on and headphones on and like a do not talk to me type of look on my face. So, yeah, I'm gonna try to start filming my workouts in the gym because it's
And
been
getting
requested.
comfortable with being uncomfortable, Destiny,
Yeah,
like we talked
exactly.
about.
Exactly.
Nah, trust me, taking it from me, like now, I mean, now I got to the point where I was doing TikTok lives at the gym. So just imagine the courage it takes to like put your phone on a little gimbal somewhere with a little mic and you're talking and like you got four people looking at you like, who the heck is this guy talking to? And I'm just like, it looks like I'm just talking to my phone. And like, I remember the first few times I would try it, I could feel my ears red, like of the
You were
embarrassment in a sense,
nervous.
because I could literally feel the stares, and I'm like talking to my phone, and I feel like an idiot, and I'm like, you know what? Who the heck cares? They're not paying my bills. They don't know what's going on in my life. I'm
100%.
gonna see them sporadically. Yeah, I'll see them another time at the gym, but it's like, I don't know who you are. Like, it's like, who cares? Like, let me just, easier said than done, of course, but then I would tell myself that literally, hey, Joe, got comfortable with being uncomfortable. So I'm like, just keep talking, keep doing it. Who the hell cares? But no, it definitely helps. I would say like, hey, that's cool with the tripod. I would say for whatever tips I can offer is like maybe start off with just putting your phone in a little corner and like recording it like that. So like you kind of get comfortable with that. And then from there you could, because I'll be honest, for me at first, taking out the little gimbal, it was kind of nerve-wracking. Like, oh my God, a gimbal. Like, huh. But then it's
Yeah.
like again, then you start telling yourself, yeah, who cares? Like everyone's literally focused on their own work. I mean, and especially in my area, I know it's different for other cities, other locations, other gyms, but at least where I'm at, Miami, everyone records everything. Like everyone considers themselves an influencer or a content creator. Like so like in my gym, not that my gym everyone recorded, but there would be a good amount of people with their tripods, this and that. So I'm like, and no one cares. People would walk in the shots or whatever because it's kind of like a busy gym, but like no one would get pissed, no one would get annoyed. Like we all get it, type of stuff. So I was like, hey, you know what? Everyone's literally in their own world. No one really cares, and so why should I be worried even if someone is looking at me? Obviously, like you see someone doing something, you just kind of randomly look. That happens to anyone, but then you're like, oh crap, he's making fun of me. It's like the guy was probably just randomly looking at you at that 1 second, and like that's it. Like he's in his own workout, and so yeah,
Yeah,
but no, that's
100%.
cool. That's like the next step, recording content in the gym. That's gonna be fun. There you go.
Yes.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Love it. Nah, I'm rooting for you. You got this. You got this.
Thank you.
The more you do it, the more comfortable you get. That's for sure. What I try to do too is if let's say you're using the tripod. I always try to put it in a specific angle where I know that if people walk through, like it's not gonna bother them. So then it's like, chill with it. Some easier said than done, but that's what I try to. I mean, my gimbal is like the little DJI gimbal, so it's like kind of like a little smaller one. So like it's kind of like you don't really notice it unless you're like really paying attention. So I usually will try to put in specific corners, but then people can just walk through and they don't even see it. And then like, all right, cool. And then I'm just chilling, like recording and so forth. And it's worked out well so far for me. No one's
Yeah, well, and that's
thankfully knocked
nice.
it out accidentally.
Yeah, and the EOS has like a film specific room for
Okay,
influencers to film in. So,
nice.
but I just need to put it to the side and do it. I got
There
the
you go.
tripod
Yeah.
yesterday, so
Okay, there you go. There you go. There you go. You gotta get yourself out there. Comfortable with the uncomfortable for sure.
absolutely.
The next step in the fitness influencer life. She already got her collaborations. Now she just need to be in the selfie room posing and everything of the sort. That's it. You made it. Fitness influencer status, girl. But now let me ask you the following as we like kind of wrapping it up the podcast, given the time. One final, like say like deep question that I would like to finish. But for you personally, if there's someone listening to this podcast who's like in a dark place, maybe they're battling abuse, as you talked about. Maybe they had a parent walked out of their life or parents walked out of their life, family trauma, self-doubt, things that you also went through and, overcame with God's help and everything. But what would you want them to know right now about, let's say, God, fitness, resilience, who are going through those things that you went through as well?
Just stay rooted in who you are. And if you don't know who you are, go to God. He will tell you exactly who you are. He will give you the guidance that is needed. Literally, the Bible has everything that you could ever need in it. Every prayer you could ever need. You just got to stay rooted in who you are. Don't listen to anybody around you telling you you can't do certain things, or don't even like listen to your own mind. Just speak positively, because the tongue has either the power of death or life, essentially. So what you speak is what you're going to reciprocate. So if you're constantly speaking negatively, you're going to reciprocate negativity in your life. So you want to speak positively in every situation. And that's what really got me through everything, was just thinking of it like in a positive way. So like say my mom leaving, of course that's a terrible thing. That's a really hard thing to go through, and it was really hard in the moment, but now I look at it and I'm very grateful it happened. Of course, it still makes me sad, but I'm very grateful it happened, because I wouldn't be who I am now without it happening. And I know that ultimately God was protecting me from certain things that I had been enduring in my life, with her being involved in my life. And so it was ultimately a protection from God. My favorite thing to do is everything is like a divine interruption, or a a divine interceding on my behalf type of thing. Like everything happens for a reason, and he's very intentional, and it may not always go the way you want it to go. And so you may get frustrated, but you can't get frustrated with him, because he's not, like I said, he cares more about your calling than your comfort.
Facts, facts. No, well said, Destiny. Well said. And you guys heard that here first in the G3X podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Truly, it was an amazing one. Again, Destiny, wishing you the very best. It was an amazing story. I'm glad to have had you on a guest. You truly have a powerful story. And I know, hey, keep at it. Keep following wherever God guides you. You could definitely be a huge inspiration to so many other women out there that have gone through similar experiences. You're not the only one who's gone through similar situations, right? There's so many women out there who have gone through something, and you could be definitely that like inspiring light to know like, hey, that's not the end. There's a lot more to your life, a lot more value to your life and so forth. So beautiful story, truly. If the audience now, Destiny, wanted to follow you, what platforms are you on? What socials are you on so they could give you a follow, support your page, see your growth in your fitness and faith journey?
So my Instagram, Threads, and TikTok are all destiny.reid with.
Beautiful. There we go. And guys, to those who are hearing or watching this through YouTube, Spotify, etc., all that information will be there on the description below. Make sure to definitely follow her. She's an awesome person, and see her own growth. There's many more to come. And we got here. I could even see you in the future. I mean, again, God knows what he has planned for you, but I could even see you in the future becoming like a a PT or something like that, given you've already been helping people do that. So I think like if that's something that's ever intrigued you, like as a personal trainer or like getting your certification, I think that'll be something like I could like me personally, just like a random comment, like compliment is like, hey, I could definitely see you achieving that. But of course, whatever your personal goals and dreams are for sure. But again, Destiny, it was so good having you. As we like to say here at the G3X podcast, God, Gym, Grind. And until the next episode, peace out, everyone.